The scene shifted as a man introduced himself to Dr. Kim. He stood with authority and spoke with confidence, revealing his identity. He was Ferrero Rocher, the Grand General of the Human Resistance Army. With a respectful bow, he expressed his gratitude for saving them. Dr. Kim responded with a simple acknowledgement. Without hesitation, Ferrero ordered one of his men to fetch some clothes for the doctor. The soldier obeyed immediately, but before the order could be fulfilled, Dr. Kim suddenly erupted in anger. His voice rang out, calling Ferrero an idiot. The general was taken aback. With unwavering conviction, Dr. Kim declared that wearing clothes was for cowards. Without hesitation, Ferrero responded by ripping off his own garments as well. Dr. Kim smirked, clearly impressed. The room fell into silence as everyone around them stared in blank disbelief. The scene shifted again. The atmosphere was heavy as soldiers gathered in solemn formation, saluting their fallen comrades. A funeral was held to honor those who had perished. Later, Kisses sat alone, lost in sorrow. A photograph of her fallen comrades rested in her hands, and as the memories overwhelmed her, tears began to fall. Dr. Kim approached slowly and sat down beside her. Without warning, he started to cry. Kisses, watching him, tried to resist the grief that had been welling up inside her. But as she saw him break down, she could no longer hold back. She let herself go, and together they wept. The scene shifted once more to Ferrero, who sat before Dr. Kim with grave urgency. He explained the dire state of humanity. Only 4,000 people remained. Their kind was on the verge of extinction. Humanity needed Dr. Kim's power. As he pleaded, Dr. Kim simply flexed in response. Ferrero was undeterred, his voice filled with desperation. If they could harness Dr. Kim's strength, they might finally put an end to the war. Dr. Kim, however, remained unmoved. He explained that his lab had been destroyed, leaving no way to replicate his power. Even if the lab had remained intact, he admitted, he still would not have shared its secrets. He then revealed something about his power that left Ferrero in stunned silence. The room erupted in murmurs. Fear and uncertainty spread among the people. One voice questioned their next move. Another pointed out the overwhelming odds. Dr. Kim could not possibly take on 1.5 trillion mosquitoes alone. The crowd grew restless. Some lamented, believing this was supposed to be the war's end. Others demanded an alternative. Dr. Kim raised his hand, silencing them. His voice boomed with certainty. There was no need to worry. Instead, they should be happy. He assured them that while they could not reach his level, there was still a way for humans to surpass their natural limits. Ferrero, clinging to hope, asked how. Dr. Kim flexed again and declared the answer: love and passion. Ferrero's eyes widened in disbelief. Meanwhile, Kisses stood before a mirror, cutting her hair shorter. Once she finished, she stared at her reflection before stepping away. Later, she was in the midst of combat training, her gun raised against an approaching swarm of mosquitoes. The insects charged at her. One leaped towards her, but with swift precision, she sliced it in two. She fired at others advancing toward her, taking them down with each shot. Another mosquito lunged, but she struck it down with her blade. Moving seamlessly, she shot at those on the ground while airborne and, upon landing, cleaved another one apart. She continued her relentless assault, wielding both her gun and blade in perfect synchronization. When the battle was over, a system voice echoed around her, announcing that she had cleared level 6 of her personal combat training. She remained still, taking in the moment before closing her eyes. The voice spoke again. Level 7 was beginning. Before her, a massive mosquito materialized, ready for battle. Kisses analyzed the enemy before her, combat-type mosquitoes known as CTMs. Since the war began, they had been humanity's greatest obstacle. Their defensive power, resilience, speed, and sheer strength far exceeded those of an ordinary human. As she reflected on this, one of the monstrous creatures lunged forward, landing a powerful punch to her stomach and sending her flying. It wasted no time, dashing toward her to continue its assault. She barely had a moment to recover before it struck again, but she managed to evade its attack and retaliated, slashing at its hand. Thinking quickly, she hurled a flash bomb at the creature, but it caught it midair. Without hesitation, she severed its fingers, forcing it to drop the bomb. As it fell, the device detonated near the mosquito's face, momentarily blinding it. Seizing the opportunity, she cut off one of its arms. The monster, unfazed, retaliated with another punch. She dodged, but before she could counter, another blow hammered into Kiss's side, stealing her breath. A heartbeat later, the creature dissolved into a swarm of particles and vanished. The training simulation shut down, recording the end of personal combat exercise level 7. She had endured exactly 7.2 seconds. Kisses exhaled sharply, acknowledging the truth. Warhead's image flashed in her mind, a silent reminder of the gap between them. Ferrero approached, noting her early morning dedication. She admitted the truth, she had failed the level once again. But Ferrero offered a different perspective. Lasting 7 seconds alone was no small feat. Then, with a subtle shift in tone, he mentioned something else, something he wanted her to test. Curious, Kisses tilted her head. A test? Ferrero revealed a small container and handed it to her. It was a new combat enhancement drug developed by Dr. Kim. He wanted her to be the one to try it. Kisses examined the container he handed her. Something about it felt off. It wasn't a sense of impending doom, but rather, something precious felt threatened. Ferrero reassured her that if she was hesitant, they could always find someone else to test it. Despite her unease, she chose to proceed, drinking it down with a single gulp. As she waited for an effect, Ferrero asked if she felt anything unusual, any strange taste. She shook her head, stating that she couldn't taste anything. Ferrero explained that all impurities had been removed. The word lingered in her mind. Impurities. She suddenly felt something. An inexplicable sadness, discomfort settling deep within her. Before she could dwell on it further, Ferrero pushed forward. It was time to test her new combat abilities. From the operating room, a voice calmly announced the next phase, personal combat training, level 9. Kisses froze, her eyes widening. Level 9? Before she could fully process the shock, multiple combat-type mosquitoes materialized around her, encircling her in every direction. Her mind raced as she assessed the overwhelming situation. Level 9. Even Warhead hadn't cleared this stage. The thought clawed at her nerves as she stood surrounded, tension tightening every muscle. The mosquitoes attacked. Kisses reacted instinctively, drawing her sword and cutting through multiple creatures with a single swing. The sheer force of her attack stunned her. Ferrero and the operator looked on, equally astonished. She froze for a brief moment, her thoughts flashing to Dr. Kim. Was this the strength he had intended? Another wave of CTMs rushed toward her, but she swiftly cut through them, slicing one clean in half before striking down two more. The realization struck her, this was it. This was the power she had been searching for. With newfound determination, she launched herself into the fight, finishing off the remaining enemies. The operator could barely contain his excitement, announcing that the results were off the charts. Ferrero observed with a sharp gaze, understanding the implications. With power like this, they could finally win the war. Humanity's victory was within reach. Standing before the last mosquito, Kisses decided to test something.
That hawk too and spit on that thing, you get me?
Her face burned with embarrassment as realization hit her. Ferrero, watching from a distance, blinked in confusion. She suddenly spat really hard, and now her face is turning red. The man beside him questioned whether this was a side effect of the enhancement drug. Ferrero ordered a thorough examination. Meanwhile, Kisses, frustrated by the failed experiment, swiftly took down the final mosquito. She internally questioned why it hadn't worked. Was she missing something? Did she need to use her hands? Ferrero approached, commending her performance but also expressing concern. He asked if she was feeling any adverse effects. Caught off guard, Kisses hastily excused her odd behavior, claiming something had been stuck in her throat. Ferrero insisted she visit the infirmary just in case, but she waved off his concerns, insisting she was fine. Kisses stood still, her breathing heavy, the echoes of her power still reverberating through her limbs. The strength she had just unleashed was unlike anything she had ever felt. What was that drug? She couldn't believe how powerful it had made her. The thought stirred deeper questions. It had only been a small amount, but the sensation it brought, that dangerous, familiar feeling, it was almost like, before the thought could finish forming, Ferrero interrupted, his voice calm and knowing. Let's just call it love and passion. Dr. Kim appeared, striking a proud stance as he looked from one bicep to the other. With overflowing enthusiasm, he shouted his declaration to the room. Today, as always, he would give his love and passion to all. Sweat streamed down his body, gathering in buckets at his feet. Meanwhile, alone, Kisses suddenly felt a wave of discomfort. A queasy unease stirred within her. She clutched her stomach and furrowed her brow. She didn't feel so great. Was this an actual side effect? Dr. Kim plummeted from the plane, his voice ringing through the air as he shouted about freedom. Kisses, still holding the parachute he was meant to use, stared in shock. He had jumped without it. Parachutes were for cowards, he declared mid-fall, cursing those who relied on them. Moments later, he crashed into the ground, creating a crater in his own shape. Slowly, he emerged from the wreckage, tears streaming down his face as he wailed in pain. He clutched at his injuries, openly sobbing and even calling out for his mother. Around him, mosquitoes stood, watching him cautiously. As Kisses descended, she let out a long sigh, detached herself from the parachute, and landed gracefully beside him. She stood there, staring as he continued to cry. Without much sympathy, she advised him to use a parachute next time. Ferrero stood before his soldiers, his expression resolute. He announced the beginning of their counterattack, an operation to wipe out the mosquitoes once and for all. The effects of their new drug would last an hour, just enough time to unleash humanity's wrath upon the creatures. The soldiers responded in unison, ready for battle. Turning to Kisses, Ferrero assigned her a crucial role. She was to act as Dr. Kim's probation officer. He acknowledged Dr. Kim's brilliance as humanity's strongest asset, but warned of the dangers his madness posed. If ever Dr. Kim were to lead mankind down the wrong path, it could mean the end of human history. Someone needed to be there to guide him. Ferrero believed Kisses was the perfect person for the job. She accepted the responsibility without hesitation, but there was a lingering concern in her mind. She brought up something about Dr. Kim's insanity, something that made Ferrero pause. He acknowledged her keen intuition before moving on. As she looked at Dr. Kim, she wondered whether he would bring hope to humanity or its destruction. Among the swarm of mosquitoes, one stood out. Unlike the others with their red eyes and sharp teeth, this one had purple eyes and fangs, a sign of something different. It spoke, addressing someone it had been waiting for, the one who had taken down the youngest. Kisses was puzzled by the mention of the youngest. Seeking clarity, she asked about the talking mosquitoes and their origins. In response, the creature revealed its identity. They were royalty, beings closest to achieving the full integration of all life forms. As the mosquito began to transform, it dedicated itself to its cause, fighting for their beloved mother and the unity of life. But before it could even strike, Dr. Kim sneezed. His sneeze was so powerful that it obliterated the transformed mosquito and tore through the ranks, taking down a significant number of enemies in an instant. Kisses, frustrated, lamented the loss of an opportunity to ask questions. Dr. Kim, unfazed, simply explained that he had gotten some dust up his nose. With Dr. Kim's advancements in technology, humanity turned the tide of the war. In a single day, a team of 3 wiped out 100 colonies. Victory was finally within reach. Later, Ferrero stood before his comrades, raising a toast. He declared that their achievements would be remembered forever and honored those who had fought to make this moment possible. Together, the soldiers echoed his sentiment, celebrating mankind's victory. But as the night went on, the weight of leadership pressed down on Ferrero. Under the influence of liquor, he broke down, lamenting the burdens of command. He had never wanted this responsibility. He had dreamed of a simple life, a wife, children, normalcy. Instead, one wrong move could now mean the extinction of the human race. He sobbed, wishing for his mother, as his comrades watched and laughed at his drunken state. Kisses, however, was distracted by something else. She noticed Dr. Kim slipping away from the gathering and decided to follow him. Outside, he stood alone in the cold. As she approached, she asked if he wasn't freezing without anything on. Observing him closely, she noticed the way he clutched his arm. When she looked into his eyes, she saw them glowing red. Her suspicions were confirmed. He was half Mosquito. Dr. Kim's arms trembled slightly, and Kisses took notice. She pointed it out, but he dismissed it, claiming it was simply the effect of standing next to a beautiful woman. Amused, Kisses responded with a hint of flattery. Suddenly, Dr. Kim announced he needed to relieve himself and dashed off without another word, leaving Kisses behind. As he landed in the forest, his body began to change, his form shifting, his body contorting, as he struggled against an inevitable transformation. His teeth clenched, his breath grew ragged, and he growled in frustration as he slowly took on the features of a mosquito. Before he could fully succumb to his mutation, Kisses appeared before him, her voice cutting through the tension. She confidently stated that he couldn't fool her. She was good at finding things. Dr. Kim, still struggling with his shifting form, attempted to deflect her presence with humor, teasing her for following him even to such an inconvenient moment. He jokingly accused her of being a pervert, but Kisses shot back without hesitation, reminding him that he was far worse in that regard. His amusement quickly faded as the situation turned serious. He urged her to leave immediately, his voice laced with urgency. However, Kisses stood her ground, admitting that she was terrified and had wanted to run away for some time. But abandoning him in this state didn't feel right. Dr. Kim's transformation progressed further. His eyes glowed red, his teeth sharpened like those of a mosquito, and a guttural growl escaped his throat. He reached toward Kisses menacingly, as if preparing to attack. Yet, instead of retreating, she calmly extended her hand and placed it gently against his face. At her touch, a flood of memories rushed through her mind, scattered moments of the past, long forgotten. Her voice remained steady as she spoke, reassuring him. She reminded him that warmth still existed, that human touch could be comforting. Dr. Kim, caught in the moment, gradually calmed, his aggressive stance softening. For a brief instant, as he gazed at her, he saw not Kisses, but another woman, one with glasses. The vision flickered, replaced by the present. Breaking the silence, he asked her if she had a wish. Kisses hesitated, unsure of his intent. He urged her to tell him one wish she carried within her heart. When she asked if he would grant it, he assured her that he would try his best. After a pause, she finally answered. She wanted to go on a picnic. Not a recon mission, not another survival effort. Just a simple picnic to enjoy the flowers. She explained that, after the calamity, no human had experienced such a thing. The idea of a world without simple pleasures, without moments of peace, weighed heavily on her. Dr. Kim acknowledged her request with a solemn nod. A slight blush dusted Kiss's cheeks before she suggested they return. As they prepared to leave, she suddenly spoke again, requesting a piggyback ride. She admitted that her legs ached from searching for him. Without protest, Dr. Kim lifted her onto his back and took to the skies. As they soared, Kisses asked if it was true that the world once held 9 billion people. Dr. Kim confirmed it, describing how everywhere one looked, people filled the world. She continued, asking if humans had really started wars against each other. Again, he confirmed it. She couldn't comprehend such senseless conflict. How could they bring destruction upon themselves when they had already lived in paradise, free from the shadow of extinction? Her curiosity deepened. She asked if he had participated in those wars. Dr. Kim answered simply, he hadn't personally. Yet, he acknowledged that in those days, everyone bore their own burdens, their own misfortunes, but also their own moments of happiness. Reflecting on his words, Kisses remarked that, whether then or now, human life still revolved around the same things. Dr. Kim, with an air of detachment, admitted that he had never liked humans. As he flew, Kisses, resting against his back, silently observed him. Thoughts swirled in her mind. He must have had his own joys once. Hobbies, a home, family, friends, colleagues, lovers. Everything must have been left behind in the past. As these thoughts weighed upon her, her eyes slowly fluttered closed. Elsewhere, in the depths of the land, a swarm of mosquitoes moved with purpose, searching. One of them came upon an ancient mosquito fossil and carried it with reverence. The fossil was delivered to the mosquito queen, who devoured it without hesitation. Yet, even as she consumed it, she remained unsatisfied. It wasn't enough. Her voice rang out to her children, commanding them to find what they sought. With urgency, she declared that once they succeeded, they would finally bring peace to the world.